What happens when Meghan Markle tries to lecture America on women's rights, and ends up getting absolutely flattened by one brutal sentence on live TV? This wasn't some private interview. This was national. Cameras rolling. Audience silent. And when Karoline Leavitt dropped that one line, you could hear the gasps. Meghan tried to play politics, and she picked the wrong opponent. Before we dive in, comment below, do you think celebrities should stay out of politics? Let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe, we're just getting started. Alright, here's what really happened. It all started like one of those typical late-night media setups. Studio lights glowing soft, gentle music playing, and Meghan Markle walking onto that stage like she was about to deliver the speech of the century. Perfect hair. Designer dress. That famous smile like she'd been practicing in the mirror backstage. You know the type of interview. The kind where the host leans forward all serious, pretending to be curious but really just setting up another Hollywood virtue signaling moment. And it worked. At least at first. Emma Rivera, the host, gave Meghan the softest softball question of all time. Meghan, you stirred up a storm by calling President Trump a misogynist. Can you tell us why? Now, you and I both know what that setup is. It's not journalism, it's a setup. Like handing someone a loaded slingshot pointed straight at the other side of the political aisle. Meghan leaned forward, like she was about to bless the peasants with royal wisdom. Thank you, Emma. My documentary Voices of Freedom is about giving a voice to women who've been silenced by prejudice, power, and politics. I called Trump a misogynist because his policies, from tariffs hurting working mothers to cuts in reproductive rights, have made life harder for millions. Applause. Yep, right on cue. Some folks in the crowd clapped like they'd been paid for it. Others just sat there, stone-faced, waiting for something real to happen. Meghan wasn't finished. She launched into one of those well-rehearsed stories, you know the kind of story celebrities use to make themselves sound like saints. I met a single mother in Ohio last year. Factory worker. Lost her job because of tariffs. She told me, I'm not just fighting for myself, I'm fighting for my daughter's future. Cue more applause. More mumps from the studio audience. Meghan was in full politician mode now, elegant hand gestures, soft emotional voice, eyes glistening with almost tears. And if you didn't know better, it might have worked. But Americans watching at home? They did no better. They remembered what life was really like during Trump's time in office: low gas prices, more jobs, lower taxes. They didn't need Hollywood royalty telling them how hard life is in Ohio. They live it every single day. And that's the problem. It's always rich celebrities sitting in multi-million-dollar homes who think they've got the right to tell hard-working Americans how broken their lives are. But those same celebrities don't have to worry about grocery prices. They don't have to pump their own gas. They don't know what it feels like to raise a family paycheck to paycheck. That's why this speech didn't land the way Meghan thought it would. It wasn't about compassion. It was about politics. Plain and simple. Meghan was on that stage not to help women, but to take another cheap shot at Trump, hoping nobody would call her out. But she forgot one thing: Karoline Leavitt was watching. And Karoline wasn't going to stay quiet. Because unlike Meghan, Karoline wasn't reading from a script. She wasn't playing dress up on some TV stage pretending to be one of us. She was one of us. Working class. From New Hampshire. Built her career by fighting against the media nonsense. Meghan was feeding that audience. And while Meghan was busy rehearsing sympathy speeches for cameras, Karoline was sharpening the truth like a blade. What happened next? That's when the entire mood shifted. The audience didn't even see it coming. But when Karoline finally opened her mouth, that one sentence changed everything. The applause was still echoing when Meghan finished that carefully crafted speech. And for a second, just a second, it felt like she'd pulled it off. The cameras zoomed in on her, soft lighting making her look like a polished marble statue, smooth, untouchable, Hollywood royalty. She adjusted her dress. Crossed her legs like she'd been practicing that pose for weeks. But here's the thing about Hollywood speeches, they sound good, until somebody brings the truth into the room. The people at home watching? Yeah, they've heard speeches like that before. Politicians love using words like freedom, equality, lifting up women's voices, solutions, and change. But they never talk about results. Meghan kept going, talking about how her documentary was teaming up with nonprofits, helping women start businesses in Michigan, funding training programs. It was a pitch. Not a conversation. Not real dialogue. Just another celebrity selling herself on national TV. And the host? Of course, Emma Rivera just sat there nodding along like she was getting paid extra for every approval smile. But the real America? They're not sitting in TV studios with makeup artists adjusting their collars. They're buying groceries wondering why eggs cost double what they used to. They're filling up the car tank praying the number doesn't go over $100. They're raising grandkids while politicians play games on television. That's why Meghan's message wasn't hitting the way she thought. Yeah, some folks clapped. But the rest? The rest were waiting for someone to finally say what they were thinking. Enough of the Hollywood lectures. And that someone? You guessed it. Karoline Leavitt. Karoline was watching. Quiet. Calculating. Ready. Because this wasn't her first time dealing with elites talking down to regular Americans like we're too dumb to know what's good for us. She didn't need a film crew. Didn't need million-dollar contracts. Didn't need to sit on talk shows smiling like a pageant queen. What she had was truth. And when you've got the truth on your side, you don't need Hollywood lighting to make your words shine. And here's where it gets good. Someone from the audience, probably planted by the producers, asked, "Meghan, how do you respond to critics who say you're using politics to stay relevant?" She smiled. That soft, polite, I'm pretending not to be offended smile. "Oh, this isn't about politics," Meghan said sweetly. "This is about humanity." "Sure it is, Meghan." Except everyone watching knew it was politics dressed up in pearls. By that point, even some of the studio audience looked uncomfortable. And that's when, across the country, Karoline finally made her move. No prepared speech. No dramatic stage entrance. Just a live feed, a quick interview with local media. And when she was asked about Meghan Markle's big lecture, Karoline didn't skip a beat. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't roll her eyes. She just leaned in, looked straight into that camera. And delivered one sentence that shattered the whole setup like glass. Want to know what she said? Get ready. It happened in a flash. No warning. No dramatic music. No Hollywood makeup. Just Karoline Leavitt sitting in front of an American flag backdrop during a quick local media interview. No handlers. No polished PR team in her ear. Just her. Speaking straight to the American people like one of them. And when the interviewer brought up Meghan Markle's little speech calling Trump an enemy of women, you could practically see the smirk behind Karoline's eyes. And then, she said it. 7 words. Not a monologue. Not a speech. Just 7 words, funny, coming from someone married to royalty. Boom. Silence. It wasn't just a jab. It was a surgical strike. One of those moments where you don't even have to raise your voice to win the argument, you just drop the truth like a bowling ball on a glass table. And the internet? It exploded. Within minutes, clips of that one sentence were going viral across Facebook, Twitter, everywhere you could scroll. Because let's be real, it's always the people with castles, chauffeurs, and security details lecturing everyday Americans about oppression. Karoline knew it. America knew it. And now, Meghan knew it too. And the best part? That sentence didn't just expose Meghan's hypocrisy, it exposed the whole game. Think about it. Here's Meghan Markle, literal duchess, living in luxury, Netflix deals worth millions, living in mansions that most Americans couldn't even afford to mow the lawn of, standing on national TV lecturing blue-collar families about struggle. It's insulting. It's not just tone deaf, it's disrespectful. And Karoline? She didn't fall for it. She called it exactly what it was: rich people pretending they're fighting for the poor while cashing checks bigger than most folks' life savings. And guess who noticed? Everybody. Older Americans? They've seen this movie before. Hollywood actors pretending to be political experts. Rich elites talking down to people who built this country brick by brick. It's like watching someone wearing diamond earrings crying about poverty. What really stung was that Karoline didn't say it with anger. She said it with amusement. It was the tone of "you've got to be kidding me," but wrapped up in that calm, steady confidence that you only get when you know you've already won. Meanwhile, Meghan's PR team scrambled behind the scenes, probably flipping tables trying to figure out how to spin it. But how do you spin that? The camera doesn't lie. And that moment, Karoline sitting calmly, delivering that truth bomb, hit harder than anything Meghan's documentary could ever produce. Even the media started backpedaling. Some headlines tried weak defenses like "context matters" or "Meghan's words misunderstood." But nobody was buying it. Clips of Karoline's one-liner flooded social media faster than any press release could keep up. Funny, coming from someone married to royalty. That sentence alone said what millions of Americans have been thinking for years: stop pretending you're oppressed while sipping tea in luxury. The split screen was perfect. On one side, Meghan Markle, polished, poised, trying desperately to play activist while sitting on a mountain of wealth. On the other side, Karoline Leavitt, no frills, no scripts, just a regular American woman calling it exactly how it is. That was the turning point. That's when you could feel the momentum shift. The studio audience? Quiet now. That fake applause earlier felt like it belonged to a different show. Emma Rivera looked uncomfortable, suddenly realizing that this wasn't going to be the usual bash Trump for applause routine. Nope. Not today. Not on Karoline's watch. By the time the segment ended, social media was already writing the headlines: Hollywood meets reality and loses. Meghan tried to bring politics into her fame. Karoline brought reality into politics. And reality always wins. Now, here's where things went from embarrassing to downright chaotic. Because after Karoline's sentence detonated across the internet like a 4th of July grand finale, something started to happen that nobody, not Meghan, not Emma Rivera, not even Meghan's expensive PR team, saw coming. The audience started turning. Not just the folks at home, not just social media, the actual people sitting in that shiny TV studio. You could see it on their faces. The polite smiles had vanished. The nervous glances started. People were shifting in their chairs, folding their arms, suddenly not so sure about clapping for a duchess with private chefs telling middle-class Americans how to live. And you want to know the wild part? Some of them wanted to agree with Meghan, but Karoline's one-liner had exposed the whole performance for what it was. Fake. It was like watching a magician get caught stuffing the rabbit into the hat before the trick. The illusion was broken. The rich activist routine? Over. And now, the hosts were scrambling. Emma tried pivoting the conversation. Well, let's focus more on the positive impact your documentary will have. Too late. The damage was done. Karoline's sentence was already spreading like wildfire across news stations, conservative radio, everywhere. And that's when Meghan did the one thing that finished her off. She tried to play victim. I just find it unfortunate, Meghan said, that when a woman speaks out, especially a woman of color, she's attacked for it. This isn't about me, it's about all women facing injustice. Classic Hollywood move. They always run to the "I'm being attacked" defense when the facts don't line up. But Karoline never attacked her. She just pointed out the obvious: don't lecture struggling Americans about hardship while you're living in royal estates. Older Americans watching from their living rooms? They'd seen this act before. They'd been through recessions, job layoffs, skyrocketing healthcare costs, and now inflation making grocery shopping feel like robbery. They don't need a duchess telling them about injustice. By this point, conservative commentators had picked up the story too. Radio hosts like Mark Levin and Dan Bongino were already quoting Karoline's sentence on air, replaying it like it was the chorus of a hit song. And guess what? It was. It was the truth set to music. 7 words that hit harder than a politician's entire career of speeches. Even better? Regular folks started joining in. Comments flooded social media. Karoline said what we've all been thinking. Finally, someone shuts down the elites. Hollywood doesn't speak for America. We do. And Meghan? Well, she went quiet. Her PR team must have been spinning in circles, because the usual playbook wasn't working this time. You can deflect when you're on red carpets. You can cry oppression at award shows. But when someone like Karoline drops one sentence that slices through the nonsense like a chainsaw through butter, you've got nothing left. And Meghan knew it. The studio finished the interview awkwardly. Emma gave one of those fake smiles you only see at bad weddings where everyone is pretending to have a good time but really just wants to go home. The segment was supposed to launch Meghan's new project. Instead, it launched Karoline's one sentence into legend. And here's the thing that really made the elites mad: Karoline didn't need millions of dollars, private jets, or Hollywood agents to win. All she needed was the truth. And when you've got truth, you've already won. By the time the sun rose the next morning, Karoline Leavitt's words weren't just a viral clip anymore. They had become a rallying cry. Funny, coming from someone married to royalty. It was more than just a clever response. It was a statement that cut straight to the heart of what millions of Americans feel every single day: they're tired of elites pretending they care. The headlines were everywhere: Karoline wrecks Meghan Markle's narrative. Common sense 1, celebrity politics 0. Even outlets that usually lean left had to admit, Meghan got caught flat-footed. But it wasn't just the headlines. It was who was paying attention now. Veterans groups, middle-class families, blue-collar workers, retirees. They were the ones sharing the clip on Facebook, texting it to their kids, replaying it like it was the national anthem at a ballgame. This wasn't some overproduced Netflix documentary. This was reality. And Americans? They love reality, especially when it exposes the fake smiles of Hollywood's self-appointed moral authorities. And Karoline? She wasn't gloating. She didn't post selfies with gotcha captions. She didn't do a media tour spiking the football. Why? Because when you're speaking the truth, you don't need victory laps. The truth wins on its own. Meanwhile, Meghan's team scrambled to release damage control interviews. Articles with headlines like, "Meghan's important message overshadowed by conservative spin." But the public wasn't buying it. You can't spin reality, and America wasn't in the mood for excuses. By the end of the week, Meghan's documentary release felt like background noise. But Karoline? She was everywhere. Talk radio, podcast clips, trending reels, and most importantly, she was now a voice representing the everyday American who's sick of lectures from people sipping imported tea behind mansion gates. And here's the part that really stung for Meghan and her circle: Karoline didn't attack her as a person. She didn't get nasty. She didn't call names. She simply exposed the lie behind the performance. And that's why it worked. Because regular folks don't want drama. They don't want Hollywood pity parties. They want honesty. They want fairness. They want someone to finally say what they're thinking out loud in front of cameras. Karoline didn't just win the moment. She won the respect of millions of Americans who felt ignored, talked down to, and insulted by the very people claiming to represent them. And here's the real kicker: the only people mad about it were the ones who knew she was right. Meghan could have said, "You know what? Maybe I spoke too broadly." She could have admitted, "Maybe I don't fully understand the struggles of working-class American women." But she didn't. Because elites never admit when they're wrong. Karoline didn't need an army of publicists or Hollywood writers to get her message across. All she needed was one sentence. One. And that one sentence broke through the noise, the fake outrage, the media filters, everything. It reminded America that common sense still exists. It reminded America that the elites don't speak for us. And most of all, it reminded millions of Americans that they are not alone. So as the fake applause faded, as the headlines tried, and failed, to spin the story, and as Meghan Markle slipped back into her mansion's gated walls, something else rose from the ashes of that awkward TV interview: truth. And no PR team, no Hollywood documentary, no carefully staged photoshoots can ever drown that out. Because the truth doesn't need permission to win. It just shows up, and when it does, everyone hears it. What about you? Whose side are you on, Hollywood speeches or American common sense? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're tired of elites lecturing the rest of us, smash that subscribe button right now. We're just getting started.